Hello, it is Jessica Weaver,
Hi.
and I'm with Stephanie Rizzuto. Cheers, Stephanie.
Cheers.
We are doing another one of our Wine and Wealth Wednesdays, and Stephanie is in the mortgage business. And what a perfect time to talk about mortgages because there's some crazy good things, crazy bad stuff happening right now, and we want to give you guys the inside look. So thank you for being here, Stephanie, and having some wine with me. I love having
Thank
wine
you.
and talking about money. I don't know about you.
No, this sounds good to me.
And check this out, everybody. We both have our boss lady shirts on because we are boss ladies and we handle our money like boss ladies would. So, Stephanie, first thing, what is going on right now in the mortgage world, in the real estate world? What insights can you tell us?
Okay, so there's a lot going on. I'm sure you guys all see the news, listen to the radio, but lots is going on. For those of you who lived through 2008, who saw everything that happened to the mortgage industry and the real estate market in 2008, we're seeing a little bit of that now. Hopefully it never gets to that point. Hopefully this time we're smarter. Our industry is smarter and we start reacting now before things get too ahead of us. So we're seeing that lending box go from here to here.
So what does that mean? Less loan options?
Less loan options.
Okay.
Credit score requirements are now going back up. After 2008, we were very, very strict. And then we started to loosen up a little bit.
That's comfortable.
Yep. And now it's, nope, let's tighten that right back up. Because if you think about it right now, in our society, we have people that are losing jobs, people that are laid off, furloughed, people that maybe don't know where the next mortgage payment is going to come from. Mm-hmm. So we need to make sure that we're not lending and overextending ourselves to people that maybe shouldn't be buying right now, because we need to take care of the people that are already in a mortgage that really do need help.
So what happens, let's say, I know a lot of people, a lot of couples, single women, about to buy a house and their income takes a hit, or maybe their financial house isn't as clean as it should be. What should they do? Do they put it on pause? Do they let their dream house go?
So I would advise somebody, if you were in the process of looking for a home 30, 60, 90 days ago, and everything in your financial situation hasn't changed with everything that's going on in our world, then you're fine. If you're comfortable and you have that money aside and you have the security of a nest egg aside to cover reserves, I would say, me personally, I like to see my clients walk away with 6 months reserves after a closing. I would say you're okay. But if you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow with your job and things are a little rocky, maybe even from the start of the buying process, I would advise my client, you know what? Let's just put everything on hold. Let's take 6 months. Let's build up some reserves in your account. Let's work on credit. Let's do what we need to do. Maybe we need to pay off some credit card debt, so that's not going to be hanging over you after you purchase a home. But homes aren't going anywhere. And the house that you see today that you love, you're going to see another one in 6 months or a year from now that you love too.
Oh, it's kind of like scarcity mindset. This is the only house that will ever be perfect.
It's not going to, that's not the case. But if you end up closing on that home and 3 months later you lose your job, well, then what?
The stress.
It's yes.
The stress and anxiety. Yeah, you don't want to see people. We already have enough stress. I don't know anybody who's not anxious right now. We have enough stress and anxiety. You don't want that big house purchase. You want it to be an exciting time, not exciting in the way that you're stressed every day. You're on that roller coaster. So do you tell them exactly what they need to do to get into their dream home? Like bump up your credit score, lower your expenses, get rid of a certain amount of debt?
Right. So if I'm working with somebody, let's just say, and I analyze their credit report and I do see a substantial amount of credit card debt, that's the first thing that we need to address. Whether they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars and the credit cards mean nothing to them, or whether they're just getting by, the credit cards need to be addressed, because when we move into a home, we're going to take on expenses, and some of them are going to be unexpected. The last thing I want to see is a client call me 12 months later and say, hey, Steph, how much equity is in my home because I need to consolidate $50,000 of credit cards? That's just not ideal.
Okay.
Obviously it happens, but it's not ideal. So we want to make sure that we're in a really good financial place in our lives before making this purchase. And then we want to make sure that the client has money that's invested, that they don't have to touch. We don't want to see someone liquidate every dollar they have to their name in order to buy this house.
No. And that brings up a good point. Somebody was just asking me yesterday about the rainy day fund. I was actually a divorce attorney. We were talking, and she goes, I've been telling my women, build up a rainy day fund. I'm like, yeah, we don't just joke about having an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months. This is exactly the times that we need these type of funds, to have an emergency fund. And also, especially for business owners, because we do have in our community a lot of women business owners, not just have an emergency fund with your personal money, but with the business too. Because how many businesses are not going to be able to reopen their doors because they couldn't get through this stretch period? If you have the same emergency fund with your business or a chunk of it, you'll feel so much more secure buying a house, taking that investment, that stretch. Another thing, Sunny, that we were talking about is the concept of stretching into your dream home. Now, my husband and I, we definitely did stretch into our dream home. We're blessed it worked out. We worked hard to get our incomes up to a certain level so that we could have breathing room in our budget. But stretching is taking a risk. I want everyone to be very clear. It is taking a risk with our money. So when you see, let's say you see a single woman and she really wants this dream home that's up here and her budget's maybe down here, what's your advice?
So my advice is, obviously they're going to have money in different buckets. We're going to have checking savings, which is all liquid, and then we're going to have investment accounts.
Yeah.
So my advice is, I don't want to see somebody tap into any long-term investment accounts in order to obtain that dream home. They need to leave that money alone and keep building on that money for retirement. So it's not just, I have $200,000 in my retirement that I built up over in my 401k, so I'm just going to pull half of it out. No. What we need to do is, you need to use your liquid money in order to buy that home. So when I usually speak with somebody, I say, what are you comfortable paying? And my next question is, how much do you have for a down payment that's liquid? And they say, well, what about this account, that account? No, what's liquid? And the reason why I asked that question, is it's because this is the money that you have available to you. The other money is pretend we don't have it.
Retirement money, we should pretend like we can't live on it today.
Exactly.
Plus there's fees, there's penalties, there's taxes associated with taking it. So it costs you more money in the end. And two, that's a great way to point. Don't live on tomorrow's money for today's needs.
Exactly. And then the point becomes, okay, so if this is your payment that you're comfortable with, and here's what you have available to you today, well, let's do some math of, here's some average taxes in the area that you're looking to live. Here's your price point. And this is what you're going to get for that money. Now, it may not be the $1 million home that you see on TV, but at the end of the day, you make something your own. Yeah. So when I say this, if somebody says to me, but I want a house that's $100,000 more than what you're telling me I should be buying, and then I say to them, but we need to start here. We need to start with this house, with this budget. Because you don't want to overextend yourself, because like you and I talk about all the time, you don't know when a rainy day could happen. Now look what we're seeing in the world. People are without jobs. People are being laid off. Small business owners do not have the income coming in that they expected. People could have had a great 2018 and 2019, and now look what's happened in 2020. So you really can't plan and live off of what you're going to make. You have to plan and live off of what you've made.
Great point, because we have all these projections. I'm going to be at X amount by next year. We'll be fine. But things happen all the time, and we're comfortable until we're not. So it's really, I always talk about having a plan B too. So this might be your plan A house, well, you can afford the plan B house. You can still
and just
plan B house.
It's It's so true. It's so true. And I mean, and I'll just speak right now from a little of a personal level, being in the mortgage industry, rates, they've been amazing. Everybody knows, we see what's going on. The interest rates are amazing. I've never been busier in my career. And all of a sudden now I'm starting to see real estate is slowing. So I'm just like, okay, the rates are amazing. They haven't been this low in over 36 months, but real estate is slowing down because of everything that's going on in our world. So what do I need to do? Okay, I need to think, I may not have the year I thought I was going to have because of what's going on, which is outside of my control. So let me be very successful with the money that I'm making right now, but put a huge chunk aside, because I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. I don't know what next quarter, what's going to happen next quarter, or what's going to happen for the second half of the year.
That's true. And I've been talking a lot about having a cash plan, what you just said. We talk about the investment plan, the financial plan, but now more than ever, we need just a cash plan. How do I get more accessible cash? If cash flow, right, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, how do I find that breathing room? If my income goes away completely or gets reduced, where am I going to make up that extra income for my expenses? Where's that cash coming from? I also see people who do have cash, but they don't know what to do with it right now because the markets are so crazy and stuff. So what is one way that you help people with their cash plan? You had a good strategy. You told
the 6 months?
Before.
What was it?
You have a good cash plan strategy for some people who are refinancing with you right now.
Yes. So someone who's refinancing right now that is worried about money, worried about, okay, where is my money going to come from? I'm not sure what's going to happen. Do I feel secure in my job? Obviously, right now, the government is offering people, you can go into forbearance on your mortgage and not pay for 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. But we have to keep in mind that money isn't free. And there's going to be penalties. There's going to be negative impacts, no matter what the belief is right now or how things are being presented. There's going to be credit impacts for this, more than likely. You're going to end up more than likely owing this money at some point in a lump sum. So if you don't have a payment today, how are you going to have 3 or 4 payments in a lump sum tomorrow? Mm-hmm. And then what happens is when those people don't have that money in that lump sum, then they're going to start foreclosure on their home. And now we're going to be back into a really horrible real estate market that we were 10 years ago. So we don't want to see that happen. So what I tell somebody is, if a refinance makes sense for you today, and there's a benefit for a refinance, what I advise my clients is, we're going to close early enough in the month where we're going to pay your loan off, and you're going to be able to avoid that month's mortgage payment. Plus, with any real estate transaction, you always skip a month. So let's say I close somebody on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo.
Hopefully we're better by then.
Hopefully we're better by then.
Okay.
So you close your refinance May 5th. You don't have to make your May's mortgage payment.
Okay.
And then your first payment is going to be July 1st.
Oh.
So you just received 2 months off your mortgage. So let's say you have a $3,000 mortgage payment, which is principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. You just put $6,000 in your pocket.
Yeah.
Plus,
usually our biggest expense.
It's a lot of money. Plus, if you are including your escrows in your mortgage, you're going to get an escrow refund of whatever's in your current account. So let's say you had $2,000 in your escrow account. You just put $8,000 in your pocket. And on a refi, you can roll these costs in on top of your existing balance. So somebody that's worried about building that cash reserve, that cash fund, just put thousands of dollars in their pocket. And if they're smart, they're just going to put it into the bank and keep it there.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't go anywhere now anyway, so there's nowhere to spend the money.
It's just on groceries and toilet paper. But right. It's true. Usually,
and wine.
Yeah. Usually our biggest expense is our mortgage. So to have that one gone for 2 months is a huge relief. I know.
Oh, yeah.
Our next biggest one is daycare costs, which you and I both know. But you
right.
So that's if you need cash. how sometimes a refinance can help you. Now, what if you do have cash available? Is now a good time to make real estate an investment opportunity where you get hopefully rental income from it? Is now a good time to put, because there are upfront costs to you buying real estate, you put money into it, you have to carry the cost until you get it rented. Is now a good time for that?
So I truly believe that there's always a market for real estate in your portfolio. Everybody who I speak to, the people who have real estate in their portfolio, they're doing really well with their money in different buckets. So I believe that if you're able to buy an investment property or buy a property to flip, now it's always a good time, because there's always going to be distressed properties on the market that need to be picked up and flipped and then resold. So I believe there's always a market for that. And there's always a market for investment properties, because there's always going to be a market for people that want to rent. Look, some people don't want to be homeowners. Mm-hmm. Some people can't be homeowners. Or some people, let's just say, or you have a couple that just got divorced and they need to move out of the house, but they're not ready. They don't know, where do I want to live? What do I want to do? I'm just going to rent for 2 years. So there's always a market for rentals. So if you can come up with the 15, 20, 25% down to put down for that rental property, it's always a good investment in the long run. It may take you a couple years to be profitable, but you just have to be patient.
I think you have to give yourself that cushion time. You're not going to make money from day one. It is like a business. You need to invest into it. And then give yourself, I think the biggest mistake most business owners and people who own real estate as an investment make, not having enough cash flow to carry the business for a while, right? It usually takes longer than we project to start making real income from it. So give yourself that cushion and make sure you know that times like this happen, you might have to carry it even more so. Mm-hmm. Now, Stephanie, I have one question I've been dying to ask you, because it's all over Facebook, all over the media. Can I really not pay my mortgage payments during this time?
You have nobody, if a client asks me that right now and they're in process with me, I say to them, if you're serious about doing this, I don't think that I'm the person to close your loan.
Okay, fair enough.
I advise everybody, guys, pay your mortgage.
Okay.
So what the government is putting in place right now, it's a relief for somebody who really can't pay their mortgage, mm-hmm. for someone who lost their job, has no savings. There's nothing that they can do. So if someone's in that position, then they need to take advantage of this. Okay. But for your average person to just go and say, well, this is being offered, so I'm just going to go take it. No, don't do it. It's like when the grocery store has cheese out when you're shopping and they just have like a whole row of cheese to sample. Do you walk by 3 times and pick up the cheese 3 times? No, because you don't need it.
You buy your own block of cheese.
So I tell people, guys, right now, honestly, pay your mortgage, because there's definitely going to be negative impacts, whether it's credit-wise, whether it's coming up with this lump sum at the end of the 3, 4, 6 month forbearance that your mortgage company is going to offer you. Something is going to have to happen, because if we think about it this way from a business standpoint, if the bank isn't collecting payment, then they're not making money servicing your loan. Sure. So if they're not making money servicing your loan, do you think they're just going to sit back and write this off on their books? They have to get their money somehow.
It is a business in the end.
It's a business. And think about this. Who's paying your taxes if you're not paying your mortgage?
Oh, well, yeah. And your insurance too.
Right.
It's all together. So don't forget about that.
Pay your mortgage.
Yeah. And looking at even the CARE Act, there are so many great things to it, but you also have to understand, like you said, what are the consequences of it? And being educated before you just leap into something that seems too good to be true. Mm-hmm. You can go a few months without paying your mortgage, but the banks are going to get their money somehow from you.
They're going to get their money, and if they make a note on your credit report for, mortgages and forbearance agreement, what's going to happen is when this is all over, the lenders are going to come up with new guidelines, and there's probably going to be a guideline in place, and I can't be quoted this, but I've seen stuff like this happen. There will be some sort of guideline in place, forbearance, minimum 2-year requirement, and from when this happened. It goes back to the 2008, 2009 time when the real estate market crashed and everybody said, oh, I owe more than my home is worth because the market crashed. And all the banks said, you can do a loan modification where we will adjust your interest rate based on your income, no penalties. Don't worry about the value. You could owe $500,000. Your house could be worth $200,000. It's okay. But it damaged everybody's credit. If you did a loan modification, it was a huge negative impact to your credit. Okay. And then there were lending guidelines that were put in place. If somebody was in a loan modification, it was almost treated like a short sale.
So what we always say, a small mistake with money, even a teeny tiny mistake with money, can be a very costly mistake. It can be a big bucks and can really hurt your future. So I think the keys are know your options. What are your options? There's always options out there, right? There's always options.
Always.
You have to stretch yourself to the dream house. You can buy just as beautiful of a house at a lower price point. Understand the consequences of your options to your money, to your future, to future investments and purchases. And having somebody like you, Stephanie, like me, helping guide you through these and navigate the waters. I don't know about you, but I have so many women calling me. It's just nice having somebody to talk this through with.
Yes,
that too. Through and knowing that I'm not just jumping into something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
right,
so
and right now
working with you, Stephanie, because you do take the time to educate. I've been on multiple calls with you with clients, educating them, helping them understand what the process is, what it means to their credit score, their future, their savings, their expenses, their budget, all of that.
Mm-hmm. No, it's true, because right now it's, we're not in a time where we're just saying, okay, well, you know what, this house is beautiful. This is awesome. I'm just going to liquidate my funds because the market's not doing well anyway. No, now is the time that the client needs to speak with somebody like you and say, you know what, I took a hit because everything took a hit, the stock market, this, that, and the other thing. So what should we do? You don't just say, I'm going to just liquidate my funds for whatever reason.
No.
It's just time to restructure.
Yeah, exactly. What would you say is the number one thing to always remember when you're about to do something with real estate? What would be your go-to tip, rule, saying, mantra?
I tell people this all the time because I never want to see anybody get into a really bad financial situation. Please, please, please keep reserves in the bank. And I don't mean money that they have invested with you. I mean liquid money. I just keep 6 months in the bank.
Yeah, have that safety net. And I had one client and she told me after we started working together, she really got conscious of her expenses, her income. She bumped up her income. She lowered her expenses, everything. She started saving 70% more within a year of working together. And she said, you don't know the stress I had from not saving enough.
I agree.
Not knowing how much I should be saving, the stress. So when you have the reserves in the bank, they're the people, we're all anxious right now. I'm anxious, you're anxious, we're all anxious, but they're the least anxious out of all of us, the people who have reserves in the bank. And that peace, that calmness is priceless to me.
I agree. And by reserves, we're saying liquid funds, that emergency safety net. You always need to have funds in the bank. And what's happening now too, what we're seeing is the guidelines in the mortgage industry are starting to require more reserves than ever before.
Oh, sure.
So it's not just like I think, oh, let me just advise you that it's best to have reserves after we close, or even on a refi, I'll say, so, what money is in the bank that you're not touching, not retirement funds, not funds that you're building up, because we need to get you some money saved up for that rainy day. Yeah. Now the banks are actually starting to require more reserves than they did before, because they know people are going to be faced with hard times.
Yeah. They don't want to take, we're talking about you not taking a risk. The banks don't want to take a risk either. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much, Stephanie. Let's have a final sip of
Let's
wine
have a final sip
as we close out our wine and wealth.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you for being on here.
Thank you for having
me. Very generous bonus. a credit for closing for anybody who does refinance or does a purchase through Stephanie. Check out her bonus. She's amazing. We love you. Thank you for being part of our team.
Thank you.
Team and our community. And we'll see everybody next time.
Thank you.